Sylvia Calhoun is back to tell more stories about her time on the Flagship Apollo with L. Ron Hubbard as his public relations officer, photographer, steward, and you name it. And you're going to get some great stories from Sylvia. And then she eventually went to Los Angeles and left the Sea Organization in 1978. You'll hear that story. And then what she did following that time. I think you're going to find this video interesting, and we hope you enjoy it. Here comes Sylvia Calhoun for part 2. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. My name's Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my co-host, Janis Gillham Grady, and we've got our special guest back again, and I'm going to have Janis introduce them right now. Hi, Janis.
Hey, g'day, Mark. G'day, everyone. Yes, we have Sylvia Calhoun back with us. This is our second interview with Sylvia. I've known Sylvia since 1968 when I was 11 years old, and she was a growing up by then. So anyway, we're going to go back into talking about our days on the ship, on the Apollo, Royal Scotsman. And she was in the engine room there. She was the LRH PR there. She did photography there. She did PR, public relations with the locals. So she's got some good stories to tell here.
Hi, Sylvia. How you doing today?
Good morning. I'm so tired. My mind is a blank. We've had a few days together, and it's exhilarating and exhausting at the same time. I'm glad I have a voice left.
Yeah,
I understand. So we were going to start with a story when you were, I guess you were in public relations in Morocco. Is that right?
Yes. After I petitioned LRH to go into public relations, and basically I was working with Liz Osley, Gable House. That was in about the end of maybe 1969. So I mentioned in the last interview, we set up a little room in the aft lounge, and Liz made cushions and curtains, and we bought some rattan furniture. And then Liz had gotten to know some people in Morocco. And at one point, she met a colonel that shared a birthday with her, the 17th of May. And that was also my mother's birthday. So we had some public relations events, and people came aboard. We hosted them. They hosted us. And we also did in Portugal as well. And just people in the port and I don't even know exactly what their posts were, but maybe personnel from the towns that we were in. Like you would invite some people aboard. And they were actually wonderful events. And there was just a tremendous amount of what we call ARC with these people, really a tremendous amount. Because sometimes when they would meet us, they would just, feel a kinship from who knows where. And those were very special evenings. And there's a picture of Liz that I didn't think to pull up, but she was in a
talking
beautiful,
with all those men.
Maybe we can find it now.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Where she was in a beautiful black evening dress with lace sleeves, and she was so sharp and such a good articulate talker. And she spoke fluent Spanish, she spoke fluent German, and she learned to speak passable French when we were in Morocco. She's quite the linguist. And so I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed interacting with public there. And let's see. So then it's already been covered in other stories. I won't go there, where we tried to have some influence. The king it was known that someone was trying to assassinate the king. It was known. Who it was, nobody knew. LRH's fondest dream was that we could find out who the traitor was and tip off the king, and then we'd be a big feather in our cap. But not only, I found out later, not only were we trying to find out that, which is not really our job, but since when did we not put our nose, we're trying to save the world. We felt like we were entitled to know everything and maybe do a little controlling as we went along. Later on, I read a book by a woman who was born in 1923. She became a spy for the United States in World War II. And after World War II, she married into Spanish royalty. And her name, and I wrote it down today, was Aileen Griffith. She became an OSS spy, Office of Strategic Services. And that was the precursor with William Donovan, Wild Bill Donovan, the precursor of the CIA. So she then became Countess of Romanones, I hope I pronounced that right, and lived in Spain with her husband. And later on, they were invited to Morocco for a big event with the king in 1971. That was when we were there too. And she was working with William Casey, who later became head of the CIA. And they were there socially, but behind the scenes, she was trying to find out, as a former spy, who was trying to take out the king. And she couldn't do it because who would have ever dreamed that the king's best friend was the one that was trying to take him out, General Ufter.
The king was King Hassan II.
Yes, King Hassan II.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that book was called The Spy War Silk. If anybody's,
I think I have that up there.
I probably sent it to you. I bet I did. So anyway, that was just a little postscript to our activities, which have been covered so far.
I was going to say one thing too. The Flagship Apollo, like the ports you guys would go into, that it was suspected that it was a CIA ship, right? Isn't that right? Isn't that what?
Well, that was only promoted by the CIA, I think.
No, I understand that, but in other words, they were trying to get Hubbard and everybody kicked out of the ports, and the way they did that was they would say, "Oh, they're spying, they're CIA or whatever." Yeah.
Well, that was later on. At first, we were the mystery ship as we sailed to different ports, and there'd be telexes between an embassy in Lisbon and an embassy in Morocco. Did the mystery ship Apollo show up? And everyone was keeping an eye out for us. And we actually disappeared for a while and sat out at sea anchor. So everyone was like, where'd they go? And then, we showed up in Lisbon and big press articles where we're just trying to be low key.
But what was helpful about that was when we would put on sort of a cocktail hour, sort of an evening, and invite the locals aboard. And when they came aboard, they were so taken with us that just because of the friendship and I don't know, a granting of beingness, that is the absolute concept. And so that was awfully good for port relations. And the local people actually loved us.
Yeah, true.
They loved us. And the Greeks loved us. And when we were able to go back, the Greeks wanted us back after the deep state made sure we got, kicked out basically. But we didn't get kicked out of ports because of misbehavior on our part. I want to correct that because we behaved impeccably ashore. And we were gracious. And again, if I can just say it again, the concept of granting beingness to people, that's everything.
Yeah. Well, every Saturday, actually, we used to do a open house.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
And all the locals, if whoever wanted to come, they were given clearance through the port, and they'd come to the ship, and we'd have all of our flags flying. We were dressed to the nines, for a ship. And everyone come aboard, and they get a grand tour from the well deck up through the prom deck, up to the bridge. Sometimes some were lucky and got the engine room, and the locals just loved it to come aboard a real ship.
It makes my day to hear Janis say that, and for me to have the opportunity to say that. I don't think that's been covered in any other interviews.
No, it hasn't.
And that was my experience. As long as we almost started on the, I'd like to comment on something we almost started yesterday. I was there on my own self-determinism. I was in the Sea Organization for 10 years. It wasn't a walk in the park, but I had a comparatively good experience. I feel very, very badly for people who didn't. But I think it's important to cover the positive aspects of it, because why would any of us stick around so many years if it was all just a big fraud? It wasn't. Thank you for that.
Okay.
All right, let me ask you this. Is this one of the parties or whatever with locals, or was this on shore or what? Huh?
It was just a party, a shore party, or
was it ashore?
That was ashore in a local restaurant, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't think we had that kind of coffee table.
Yeah, and Terry and Annie are there. That was their Liberty. So yeah, going from left to right is Joyce Popham in the back there. She was Ken Urquhart's secretary. She was the personal communicator secretary. And then there's Delwyn Sanderson, and she married Barry Watson, who's right there next to her. And then Claire Popham, who's now Claire Loewen, or some knew her as Claire Rousseau. She's the daughter of Joyce in the back corner. And then in the center is Liz Osley. Next to her is Sylvia, our one and only here. And then next to her is Annie Broker, who was Annie Tidman at the time. And then my sister on the right, the very end there.
Now, Janis, when you say Liz Osley, is that Liz Gablehouse, who you were just talking about, who speaks?
Yes, that's correct. That was Liz Gablehouse now.
Yeah, you guys were all dressed up and looks like you're having a good time. I got another picture here, too. This is on the ship, though, right?
Yeah, that's me sitting on Homer Schomer's. Oh, Liz and I are sitting on Homer Schomer's lap, and that's Ira Chaliff on the bottom.
On the floor.
Yeah.
And
that's Pat Bryce over on the left corner.
Okay.
Then see, we've got a smaller version of that picture.
Yeah,
where Ira was wondering who that woman was, and he figured it out, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Now, I was going to say also, this is a wedding. I don't know whose wedding it is or whatever, right? Is that LRH and Mary Sue?
Diana's wedding.
Okay.
To John Horwich, and that's Suzette.
Did you take these photos?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Sylvia was the LRH photographer for Diana Hubbard's wedding to John Horwich. And Hubbard gave his daughter away, and Mary Sue was there, and Suzette was her maid of honor. And Alan Buchanan was the best man for John Horwich. There's John in the back, Diana, and behind Diana on the left side of the picture, that's Quentin Hubbard, her younger brother.
What was it like shooting those weddings?
Nerve-wracking, because I had gone to photography school, but in that school, you had one lesson for every kind of photography that you might ever do. So you got the basic idea, but you would have needed to apprentice to really feel confident. And especially photographing, the Commodore's daughter. I really wasn't that adept at weddings, but I did it. But
now let me ask you this: did you take these photos here?
I did.
That's Ella-Rich's birthday, right?
It's a birthday.
Now, the reason I have this is Mary Sue's in the back left of that photo, and then Scientology has erased Mary Sue out of the photos. Hold on, I got it right here.
That makes me.
There's you right there.
That is just awful.
No, actually, that picture, Mark, you can see Mary Sue by his shoulder. just the
Oh,
top
okay.
of her head. That's not
Okay,
the
but they
picture
have
where
her-
they erased her.
Right, but they have erased her out of the pictures,
Yes.
which is really.
May
really
I just
terrible.
comment that seems a little off source?
Oh yeah.
My
Absolutely.
God.
Yeah, the
And
erase
they
is
like
right.
to
Very,
use
very
they like
soon.
to use this photo at birthday events every year, so they do big blow ups on the stage. And Mary Sue's no longer in the photo.
My God.
That is a
And then
hell
just
of a
watch
cake.
another one here.
That
And then
is-
did you
that
take
is
these? Did you take these?
No, doesn't look familiar. No.
Okay, these are birthday celebrations, I guess. There's Tony
Oh,
Dunleavy and Annie.
that's Tony Dunleavy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Annie broke her behind.
Wow. No, I didn't take that.
Okay.
I
There's
took that.
Mary Sue. Okay, Mary Sue and LRH. There's Mary Sue on the left, LRH and Diana. You probably took this one, right? Colin?
Yeah.
And that's
Didn't
just a
take that.
picture of him. And how about this? This is, I guess, his birthday.
Yeah, it's a different birthday.
Okay. All right.
I am still just astounded that they would erase Mary Sue. I mean, how off source can you be?
Yeah. Well, we did a whole show on Mary Sue because the fact of the matter is, I mean, she was in charge of the Guardian's office and she was in charge of the Smell White program and confessed and went to prison. But she also was Hubbard's right-hand woman. I mean, she helped him. We showed the book of E-meter drills that she compiled, and she did a lot of things to get Scientology, to help him in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And now she's just basically erased out of history.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So when you were at a wedding or something like that, were you just like any wedding photographer, just moving around, taking shots?
Yes, I made one mistake that I think of. I photographed all the wedding party and this and that, but I didn't turn the camera on the attendees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's only a few photos with Joan Robertson or Connie White or Robin Roos, but there's no other. Oh, and the side of Hannah Elchingham, but everybody else.
Otto Roos.
Yeah, there's no picture of them at the wedding.
I regret it.
I understand. Now, I take it you did it like any other photographer. You probably printed out the photos, showed them to LRH, Mary Sue, Diana, John, and then
yes,
picked the ones they
I
liked.
did. I got them printed in town.
Yeah.
Madeira, which they did. I got an extra set for myself. That's the only ones that I just got an extra set. And I'm glad I did because I kept them all these years. And I was able to later on get CDs made. And I was able to get a set to Rowan.
Yes.
And
okay.
So, because she'd never seen pictures of her parents' wedding. And she said, I didn't even know the date. I knew the date. And so I was very pleased to pass those on.
Yeah. You're talking about Rowan Hubbard, which was John and Diana's
Rowan
daughter.
Horwich.
Yeah,
Horwich, yeah.
Diana's daughter.
Yeah.
And
L. Ron Hubbard's granddaughter. Yeah.
Right. And you know what was wonderful? After the wedding and Sylvia presenting the photos, she got a beautiful letter from Mary Sue commending her for taking the photograph.
It was a really nice letter, and as long as we're on the subject of Mary Sue and letters, I'd like to share a little story.
Yeah.
I don't have it with me, but I can paraphrase it. There were times when my sister and I were not in communication. It was very amicable, but if she would be getting some auditing or training, we just weren't communicating because I was sort of persona non grata along with many other people. And so there were periods of time where my sister and Mary Sue corresponded with each other, particularly at Christmas. They always wrote a Christmas letter to each other. And as I think back, Mary Sue would have been living in her home in Los Angeles at that time. And my sister probably lived a few blocks away. And they never saw each other. And as I think back, trying to fix history, it would have been nice if we could have sort of tried to see each other in person or have my sister see her in person. But in one of the letters, Mary Sue said that at some point when she was working on getting nonprofit status, that one of the government officials asked her, would you consider hiring a convicted felon as an executive of Scientology organization? And she said, certainly not. Well, then they put her in jail. So now she's a convicted felon. So she could never work in senior position. I mean, that's just, that's just so creepy.
Now, didn't Diane communicate with Mary Sue while she was in prison? I know Leon Steinberg did.
I don't know. I don't think so. I just don't know. But certainly after she was out of prison.
Okay.
And so Diane and Mary Sue were, your sister Diane and Mary Sue were friends.
Diane McDonald. Yes, very much so. Very much so. Sure. In my mind, it's very clear to me that there are three aspects of Scientology. There's L. Ron Hubbard, the man. There is the technology, which stands on its own. And there's the current management and the way that Scientology organizations are run and operated for the last several decades. And every time I hear, well, Scientology did this or Scientology did that, it's just all one big mush. So that people who know, they know that when L. Ron Hubbard was alive, there were many outnesses, but it was nothing like now. Nothing. And you could always appeal to him. And he would be fair and he would, And then the technology itself, I became very disaffected when I left the Sea organization after 10 years. It was 1978 and I was disaffected. ARC broken. And go ahead.
Can I just, ARC broken is affinity reality communication, which equals understanding. And that's a Scientology term in regards to like having admiration for something.
But an ARC break is like an emotional upset. Something your ARC broken with your husband because he yelled at you or something like that.
I was upset with Mary Sue. Yeah. I was upset with the idea that I'd spent 10 years and now where am I? So that kind of thing. Yeah. But in my deepest, darkest hour of disaffection, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking of the basic technology, the basic, what we call lower levels of communication, problems, overts and withholds. And I had become an auditor by that time. I was class 4 auditor. Mm-hmm. And there's one piece of the technology that is so brilliant. I still can hardly believe it. And we won't go into detail, but it's called the laws of listing and nulling. And it's a particular way of assisting a person to get the right source of a problem that's upsetting them. And by the administration of this technique, when the person realizes what it was that they may have totally forgotten that was bothering them, there is a magnificent phenomena that appears on the e-meter, and it's just an absolutely wonderful tool. The laws of listing and nulling, it's called. And I just kept thinking, but that is so brilliant and so helpful and so wonderful. And that just seems like the baby that gets tossed out with the bathwater with people that have become so, disaffected.
Well, we've asked that question because anybody, like I've got trained to do some auditing, not a lot. And, you obviously did a lot of auditing over the years. And then we've had other people that, Mary Marin, Mary Friedman, she's done lots of auditing and trained lots and all that. And I just remember not only just my own gains when I was getting auditing when I was a teenager and how it changed me for the better, but I remember just watching the person sitting across from me when I was the auditor delivering the processing, and you'd watch them change before your eyes, and it, like, for the better, you know what I mean? And have these fantastic, you know, cognitions, as we call them, or basically realizations about their life. And I don't know how, I mean, I can't say that was bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, people that we have some people that were highly trained auditors that now years later, they go like, oh yeah, it was all BS. You know what I mean? And I just don't understand.
Exactly. That, and I get it, but I don't agree with it. And some of my absolute best lifelong friends, they'll be my friend to the end. They are full of hatred and resentment, and I love them just the same.
Right.
It's just that I became made peace with whatever experiences I had, the whole subject, everything. I have made peace with it. That doesn't mean I excuse, you know, some of the serious abuses and unconscionable behavior, but I don't just. I've made peace with my relationship with L. Ron Hubbard and Mary Sue, because there was a great deal of love there. And so thank you for giving me this opportunity just to be able to express myself, because it's taken years to come to this point.
Yeah.
And I just like to balance out the scales a little bit.
Well, and I agree with you. I mean, like any religion, there are good and bad. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you've got, you know, priests that, you know, abuse people, but then there's also, a lot of people get a lot of benefit from going to that particular church or whatever. You know, it's like nothing is perfect. Nobody's perfect. We're all human. You know what I mean? And
especially
so, you know,
something like this.
Yeah, and I don't consider myself brainwashed. I know that a lot of people go like, "Oh, there's brainwashing." I'm not brainwashed. No, you know, I'm you know, and you aren't either. And you know, neither's Janis. I mean, we're logical human beings. But I'm also not going to say, "Oh, well, those wins and gains that I had, oh, they were a bunch of BS." They weren't. They still, you know, they still positively affect me to this day. You know, so you know, I understand people who were abused, and I understand people who had very negative experiences. Yeah. But I also a lot of people never got auditing. They, you know, particularly staff, because staff are the people really that get interviewed on shows and things like that. And a lot of them were abused, and they worked their butts off, and they never got any counseling or auditing. They would only get security checks. You know.
Did you ever see the program on CNN of all places? It was about 3 years ago, where Trey Lotz was interviewed on Scientology by a young man that worked at CNN who used to do programs on religion. It was wonderful. It was a whole, I think, 1 hour program with Trey Lotz, a field auditor. Yeah. And he explained so beautifully and so simply what is the e-meter. And he sat the guy down and did asked him a couple of questions to see how auditing works. It was the best program on showing, and I'm sure people could Google it, on what Scientology is all about. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, you know, now that we're here, I mean, we'll jump back and fill in some holes and stuff. But why did you leave? You were there for 10 years, and then you left the Sea organization. Is that right?
I just couldn't take it any longer. What happened is that LRH had told me personally when I was on the ship, before I left the ship in 1972, he had said, I was sitting across the desk from him, and this one evening, he said, "Honey, you remember the liability cruise?" I said, "I sure do." And I'm being sarcastic, and he's not getting it, and that's fine. I didn't mean for him to get it, but I said, "I certainly do." And he was very excited, and he was very happy because he had I think the expanded Dianetics, he had just researched that. He said, "I have just done some research, and there's a new HCOB on expanded Dianetics." And he said, "I realized the liability cruise could have should have been danger. And I went, really? I could have had a bath. So right to his face. He didn't get it. He didn't get it, which is fine. I wasn't trying to be impolite. But, and so I had a lot of hope that there would never be any more sort of heavy ethics or anything. Mm-hmm. So when I was working at the Manor Hotel in 1978, and I was already knowing, I was married to my second husband at that time, Bob Pinkos, Captain Clear, because he used to do tours and he had that name. So we already knew we were going to leave, but there was no screaming rush. I was still auditing the staff. I became qualified. I stayed in estates the whole time since I left the ship from 72.
Just for our viewers, this is the Manor, which is now the Celebrity Center in Hollywood. That's the Manor right there, the Fifield Manor. And you were involved in the purchase of that building, correct?
Yes. And that's Janis's mother, Yvonne. I think she found it.
Yeah, she found it.
She found that building. She was helping. It was a 5-person mission. Connie White and Norman Chenard were on the ship, and they were the missionaries that came out. And then there was 3 of us that were working with them. So there was 5 of us. Terry Van Zer, my husband at the time, David Gill, and me. So there was 5 of us. And Connie White, to her great credit, convinced L. Ron Hubbard to buy that building. And I think the land around, like almost a city block in Hollywood, for $1 million. Now, $1 million was a lot of money in 1973, but the last time I checked, that building alone was worth $77 million, and that was before the last sort of uptick in real estate inflation. But so when I went, so I was always working at that building, and there was only 17 of us. That would be the cooks for the restaurant, because it became Scientologists to come and stay while they were doing courses and training and auditing in Los Angeles. It was a hotel for Scientologists. So we ran the hotel. But I became the qualsec to take care of the crew, and it was always 17 of us. And so knowing that it was getting about time to leave after 10 years, I went to my in basket one morning, and there was, I guess it was a flag order, I don't know. I pulled this thing out of my in basket, sort of like a piece of newspaper under a litter box. Mm-hmm. It was about, it said rehabilitation project force. And I went, give me a break. We're not going to go down this road again. Because it got abused. It may not have been meant to be, but it's just an open door for staff members to abuse each other. And so that was the final straw. And there's another story of that, but it might take too much time. But I said to myself,
were you being sent to the RPF, or you just saw they were reinstating it?
No, this was just the flag order. So, okay, I'll tell this. I'll try to make it quick. There was a person named Wayne Marple who came from the ship down to, we had bought the Cedars of Lebanon Hospital, which turned into the Blue Building.
Right, the Big Blue.
So Wayne Marple was on mission, and he ordered me to leave my post at the Manor and come over and help him over at that building. And I said no. By then I had no reason to worry about it, because I wasn't going to stay anyway. Mm-hmm. So he ordered me to come over, and there was this very young guy, probably a new recruit, and I've been trying to deal with me, and I've been in the Sea Org for 10 years, and I'm an ensign, and I felt kind of sorry for him. He said, you have 2 choices. You will either come over immediately and work with Wayne Marple here in this building, or you will go to the RPF. And I said to him, actually, I have 3 choices. And his eyes got kind of big. I said, I'll either come over here and work with Wayne Marple, or you order me to the RPF, or I leave the Sea Org. And he said, oh, I better go ask. He didn't know how to deal with that answer. So he came back, and the answer was, you are confined to your quarters, and Mr. Marple is sending up a ComEv on you for approval from Flag. So I thought, oh, confined to my quarters? I had great quarters. You know, I can walk across the street to the Mayfair all-night market all I want from the manor. So the ComEv came back not approved. If you have nothing to lose and you stand up for yourself, it's amazing. So when I hear about these people, I was in the RPF for 2 years. I was in the RPF. My God, all you had to do was say no. Just say no. And be prepared to leave. I know it's hard because you don't have any connections or credit cards or a place to live, but somehow people left. But
It's scary.
it's very scary, but that's the only way that you can prevent from just having them lord it over you. That's my story. Thank you for letting me share.
So did you leave? Is that what happened?
Yeah, after the comment was not approved, I hung around a little longer because I was still auditing the staff, and I was still so nothing happened to me. Oh, but so, and I know this will be part of the questioning. You were when we finished our last interview, you were asking about how did I leave? What was it like? I feel so badly when I hear all these stories of these nightmare stories of people having to escape. It's just awful. Mine was so easy. I just went to the commanding officer of our little 17-person organization. His last name was Merrill, as I recall. I don't remember his first name. And I said to him, I always promised myself that I would never blow, that I would just say I'm leaving. And so I'm here and it's time for me to leave. And he said, good luck.
And that's it.
I think he had mutual outroots because I think he left a short time later. But he was just a gracious, nice guy. All the staff at that little organization. But
so you just packed up your stuff and left?
With my second husband. Now Bob Pinkos, was on staff at AOLA. And so he told his commanding officer, I don't remember who it was, he said, I'm leaving. And they said, okay, you have to do a leaving the Sea Org check sheet. And
check, routing form, yeah.
Yeah.
He did that check sheet to the letter. And when they got done, they didn't know what to do. He did the check sheet. And they still kind of, they want to hang on. But they knew they couldn't. So we left, and we left in good standing.
Well, I have several questions to ask you, okay, about your leaving, okay? You'd signed, I'm not playing, I'm just asking questions here, okay? You signed a $1 billion contract, I take it, when you first came on the Apollo? Is that right?
What was the last?
When
you signed a $1 billion contract when you first came on the Apollo?
And at the time I thought, I'm only 20 years old. This may not be legal if I want to,
Yeah.
I was 11. It was not legal.
No, I understand. No, the reason I'm asking is because, the idea was that was a commitment. And plus you worked personally for L. Ron Hubbard. So did you feel like you were leaving L. You know what I mean? I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Did you feel like you were like letting him down by leaving or anything like that?
No. And part of the reason I stayed in as long as I did, I felt like I would miss him. And I did actually do a survey remotely, when I was in Los Angeles for him. I did a survey of the crew, and he was really thrilled with it. So I was able to have that one last great experience with him, which was very important to me. But no, I didn't. I mean, 1 billion years, so I'm on a leave of absence. and of course, in reality, my reality today, I think we're all going to be together forever. I've been to a couple of spirit mediums that were very good, and the impression I get is that when you go over to the other side, whatever it is, we're all together, and that we do tend to incarnate as groups if we want to come back. This one medium said, nobody's in a big rush to come back here. You want to take some time out, and but it's very comforting for me to feel very sure that all the loved ones that have left before me now, that we're going to be together, and it's going to be in a state of bliss. It's going to be wonderful.
Right. So you had a good experience with Hubbard when you left, so you didn't feel like you were letting him down. Now, we never really even talked about, you left the ship in 1972. Were you sent off the ship to go do a mission, or how did you leave the Apollo?
I got married. David Gill came aboard, my first husband.
There's a picture there of the wedding party.
There we are. That's my handsome, wonderful husband, and we are still best friends. And please note the beautiful raspberry color suit that I got him. And if you look at Bruno Mars dancing to Uptown Funk, he's wearing a jacket, that same color. And I told David, I said, we were trendsetters. But anyway, so what happened, I had not been off the ship for 4 years. And I really wanted to see my parents and family again and meet his family, who I absolutely fell in love with. And so we flew to New Jersey. He had not been on the ship that long.
Yeah, and what was he doing? What was his position, or
Boy, I don't know.
Do you know, Janis?
I don't remember. I honestly don't, because he was not on the ship for that long.
Okay.
I just remember just before we got married, I got sent on mission to St. Hill, the only second time that I'd ever been sent off the ship. And as I recall, it was with Sue and Brian Livingston. And Sue got stopped. We went through Ireland so we wouldn't get stopped. And Brian and I got through. We didn't say, I didn't make the same mistake twice.
Right.
But Sue got caught and had to spend the night, and we met up at St. Hill.
Is that Sue Pomeroy, or who was that?
Baker, but she doesn't really want.
Oh, Sue Baker.
Baker.
Yeah, Sue Baker.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, we were able to finish it. But it was right before the wedding, and we're in Ireland, and David's last name is Gill, and everywhere I looked was Gill this, Gill that, and I thought, I didn't even know that was an Irish name. So David and I talk about once or twice a year. We have a great conversation. And he told me recently, he said, I had my DNA done. And I'm like, mostly Irish. I said, I am too.
Completely, yeah.
Because
that's why
an Irish name. Isn't that fun? And of course, I loved David's wife that he married after me, and his two beautiful daughters, and he's got 2 wonderful sons-in-laws and 4 little grandsons, and I'm just very fond of his family. And there's a picture in there. I don't know if there's a picture in there or not, but when I then married my second husband, David walked me down the aisle to give me away. And my third husband said, who better to give you away? Like, now take my wife, Sylvia, please. But we all got together. I mean, all 3 of those husbands, we got together many times. And I was particularly.
But you got married to David, and then did you leave the ship at that point, or were you sent to LA?
And he didn't want to go back. He didn't want to go back to the ship. And I thought, you know what? I'd just soon stay in America. And so we asked for permission. And that's when he and I both worked in estates.
Okay.
For the rest of those 6 years.
So were you sent to LA? Were you sent to Los Angeles then?
Yes, we were at Flag Operations Liaison Office on 811 Beacon, which is now a sober living house.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. I went by there the other day or a couple of years ago. But anyway, I digress. I dare not digress. We don't have time.
But David, when he was on the ship, he played basketball.
Oh, there's that.
Do you have that picture there of the
I
of
do.
the Apollo basketball team?
There we go. So I don't know if I can point, but in the middle is David, and to his left is Amanda Ambrose's son, who's passed away, and then Wendell Reynolds.
Yep, Wendell Reynolds.
Yep. On the far right, as we look at the picture, is Stuart Moreau.
Yeah.
On the far left, as we look at the picture, is Andre Tabioyan.
Yeah.
And the man in front is, no one can remember his name. Bob Blair.
I don't remember his name. I can name everybody else but the guy kneeling.
And David Ziff, or no, Chuck Murray, and then David Ziff, and then David Gill, and then
Tony.
I got it.
And
Yeah.
so Chuck Murray, David Gill, and Tony Strom were all in your wedding.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Let me ask you this. So did you guys went on your honeymoon and then decided not to come back to the ship? Or were you on the ship and then decided we want to go someplace else?
We were married on the Christmas Eve, 1971. And then in May, we went on our leave. And then once we got to America, we requested to just stay. And to their credit, the ship sent all my possessions to me. I was so pleased because I couldn't take everything on a visit.
Sorry. My question for you, Sylvia, was you were already in the United States on leave or whatever. So you didn't see you never saw Hubbard again? Like, do you remember?
No.
Was that the last time you saw him on the ship?
I really wish I could have. No, I didn't. One time, I'd say several months before we left, either late 77 or 78 before we left, I just mentioned to somebody, I said, I just feel like LRH is around. And that was the end of it. I just felt his presence and I didn't think anything of it. And my commanding officer somebody told him to come and say, please don't say that. So I said, well, that confirms it. If you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't know.
Oh,
well, Janis can confirm it because he was in the area.
So,
right, Janis?
Yeah.
So why confirm it?
Yeah. Yeah, we were in California.
He would have been in Culver City, right?
Oh,
well, that was in 76 in Culver City.
Okay, but that's
and then
around,
LaQuinta in 77.
Yeah.
And LaQuinta in 78, and then we moved to Hemet.
Yeah.
I never saw any of the desert properties ever. I
see.
Was never, but I would love to have seen him again, but whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So then when you left, what did you do? What, you left in good standing, so you weren't declared a suppressive person or anything like that, right?
I was so lucky. I got a job with one of the great portrait photographers of the world. And I had actually met him when I finished photography school 10 years earlier. But he had a portrait studio in Century City, a part of LA. And he hired me. I asked if I could work there and he hired me. And so I was able to step right back into the real world pretty well. Had a little apartment and living with my second husband. And that photographer was just a great. And then when I went to work there, found out that the retoucher was a Scientologist and the color printer was a Scientologist. I mean, Scientology was so prevalent in the world when it was really rocking and rolling that you just in a tiny business of just a mom and pop business, the three staff had all had experience.
That was before they got into real estate.
Oh dear God.
Now let me ask you: did the photo of Ronald Reagan, was that when you were working for the portrait?
Yes, my my employer was such a magnificent photographer that, and he would it was just a mom and pop studio. I mean, he was not doing weddings or bar mitzvahs anymore. He had done those, but it was just strictly family portraiture. But he was so good that he was known about. So the Republican National Convention people, he photographed back in the day, Nixon. This picture of me with Ronald Reagan was 1979. I think just as he was running, or he'd already won and he was going to be inaugurated.
Yeah, he would have been already running because he wasn't going to go into office till January of.
Right, he wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And former President Ford was photographed. And then there was Ken Gerbino and Paul Shapiro about that time. They were putting on wonderful seminars called American Economic Council. They had several seminars, and I can't begin to tell you the caliber of speakers. I can't even. I photographed one man. He was a Nobel Prize winning economist, Frederick von Hayek. And while he was being interviewed by an economic writer at the LA Times, I was photographing him with a 35 millimeter camera, and I got a really good picture of him. He's quite old, and old people are wrinkled, their faces fall, but I got a good picture of him that he loved, and so he used that for his official photograph.
Yeah, photograph.
From then on, and I then donated that to the Ludwig von Mises Institute in Auburn, Alabama. But so
you were working that way. Did you go online as a Scientology public, or after you left, or what did you do?
Yeah, I did. I did OT3 because I hadn't done that before I left, and then because I somehow had some money on account or something. There was some reason why I got that, but I didn't do anything further. But right after I came out and just sat on the sofa, the commanding officer came out, and he just tried to pressure me into buying the next level. And I just said, no. And it didn't matter. And I just come out of the Examiner, to say I was good. And it was just all that pressure. And it's never stopped. And it is ridiculous, completely ridiculous.
So did you just sort of ease off the lines? Like you weren't getting services, you were never declared or anything like that, or comment? Or
after that, when I became friends with, reestablished friendship with Laurel Sullivan, and I just said, look, I want to know. And she was friends with Jerry Armstrong. Well, I had known Jerry, of course. And I said, look, I just want to know everything, every single place where L. Ron Hubbard put his foot wrong. I want to know everything. And I feel like I know everything for his whole life, every mistake he made, everything that he did that was not right or unfortunate or abusive or whatever. I know it. I get it. But I also know him as the good side of him. I know him as a very huge being, kind, loving. He can be everything good you'd ever want to know. So he's a combination, and I don't discount the negative, but I don't throw away the positive. And that's how I was able to make peace with my experience.
I see. Janis, how did you and Sylvia reconnect after all those years, right? Because you still were in the Sea Org until
she was in for a lot longer. She was in all through the 80s.
Yeah. I think it was when Laurel in 2000, you and Laurel did that Huntington Beach reunion.
That was pretty much hers.
Yeah.
Was that the first time I saw you?
Yeah, I might have seen you before. I don't remember exact. No, we did see before that. Yeah. But I'm not sure. Otto would come over and Sylvia would hang out with Otto, and Otto came to visit me. And yeah, so
Otto became friends with a kind of a wealthy person in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one time, at that time about 2000 or late 2000, or I'm going to say May of 2001. Otto came to town. He was my house guest. He was my house guest in Huntington Beach. And then we drove over to Las Vegas, where I had a small residence. And Malcolm Nyman, a great good friend, and he came and visited many, many times over the years. So this one night we had all gotten together, and I'm driving back to our residence. Otto's in the passenger seat. I'm driving. Malcolm's in the back seat. 10 o'clock at night, we're tired. You know, you get punchy. And we were kind of quiet. No one was saying anything. And all of a sudden, out of the back seat, Malcolm says, oh, kind of nostalgically, driving down Las Vegas Boulevard, this brings back so many memories of Elvis the Pelvis and his brother Enos, the piano player.
So you hadn't seen Janis. You hadn't seen Janis for like 20, 25, 28 years, right? Because if you left the ship,
we hadn't. No, did we reconnect through Charity?
Oh, I love Charity.
Charity was my brother's mother-in-law, who was
I remember her. She was a receptionist at the Manor for years.
Yeah. And Charity and Sylvia were like two peas in a pod. And
we were very, very close. We felt like contemporaries, but she was 25 years older than me, but we were like contemporaries. She was one of my PCs at the pre-clears at the Manor. I audited her every day, but we were great, good friends.
Do you have in there the photo of the boat, the Aries? It was there it is.
Yeah.
That was a station boat in Los Angeles for the Sea Organization. And I don't think they had the other ones. I think this was the first one. But how the Sea Org got this boat was Jerry McDonald, who was Sylvia's brother-in-law. He was married to Diane. There's a picture of him there on the bridge. But he was a very military.
He'd been in the Navy for quite a few years.
Yeah. So he knew ships, and he wanted a ship. There he is on the helm, the one on the right.
Is it on the right? Okay.
On the right with the long sideburns. That was Jerry. And the other one is Malcolm, who did the Elvis Presley joke.
Okay.
Anyway, Jerry was Sylvia's brother-in-law. And when her parents passed away, there was an inheritance.
My mom, my sister and I got some inheritance. He was also our first cousin.
Okay.
Sort of like West Virginia. Sure, you're divorced, but she's still your sister.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I just can't. I mean, I can't. I'm an old woman. I can just say things, and get. But anyway, so he bought the boat. I ended up later getting.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, okay.
He brought the boat using Sylvia and Diane's inheritance.
You mean for the Sea Org?
For the Sea Org.
Okay.
So Sylvia and Diane paid for this boat. They did not get their inheritance.
Until
later. You remember Michael Flynn. He was an attorney that was representing Jerry Armstrong and a bunch of other people. Well, Michael Flynn included it in the settlement. And so Sylvia did get reimbursed.
I got reimbursed
for the purchase of that boat.
And later on, Mary Sue gave my sister all the credit. My sister wanted credit at the organ. She got it. So we got it.
But there's a rumor out there written. I just got sent it last week where they're saying Scientology did drug running on the Aries. No, they did not. Jerry McDonald, who was the captain of it after he left the Sea Org, apparently did Jerry do.
We don't know.
Okay.
No, there's no way to know. There was a rumor, but he didn't disabuse people of that rumor, I think, because he thought it was. So I really can't say. I can't say.
Yeah.
I just can't say.
But afterwards, Jerry went back into the Navy?
Naval Reserves. And what happened was he was in Fort Huachuca.
I don't know.
Fort Huachuca down in southern by Tucson, and he was in the reserves, and he was in a tank, and it was at night, and he opened the hatch cover to come out and do celestial navigation at night in the desert, and another tank was following too close, and the gun turret hit the hatch cover and killed him.
Yeah.
When he was very young, 34 or something.
Wow.
But anyway, the Sea Org was not involved in drug running on any of the ships.
No.
Right.
And
Well, I want to say it's 57 years since this photograph was taken, and here you two are today. Janis just recently turned 70 years old, and who would have thunk back in the day on the Apollo when Hubbard and a little waif named Janis Gillham were walking towards Sylvia, and she snapped this great photo.
Yep, that's right.
well, we kind of expected to be together at this age because we were on a contract.
Yeah, we still got, I don't know how to calculate it, but just less than 1 billion years.
Yeah, a little bit less.
I just want to make a couple more comments real quick.
Yeah.
Apart from Janis's 2 excellent books, this is my favorite book about Scientology.
It's by
Which one
Merrill
is it? I can't see
Vanier
it.
called Arrows in the Dark.
Oh, okay.
And it's got some great stories in there about Clearwater when we first set up in Clearwater, and Merrill Vanier doing some undercover work as an attorney or as a legal representative for the Clearwater mayor. So anyone interested in some good Scientology spy cloak and dagger stories, that's the book to find it in.
I loved it because as I read it, I happened to know everybody that was written about. So, of course, it had a personal interest to me.
That's
but
great.
I don't think there's any. Just the one last thing I'd like to mention about disconnection.
Yes.
The 2 policies on disconnection, and I didn't bring them with me today, but one was, I guess, written in 1968, where it was a very short policy letter where LRH said, disconnection is canceled, as we can now handle every case. There's no reason for it. And then later on, which I never did, I didn't recall seeing it. It was about a 2-page policy letter. And I don't have the date, but LRH wrote in great detail why there's no disconnection, no need for it. And then at the very last paragraph, he says, and as a matter of fact, I forbid it. So for all the disconnection that's going on right now, they are so off policy. They are so off source. If they say they're trying to deliver standard Scientology technology, they are not. And that disconnection, as we've talked, all of us have talked ad infinitum, is so destructive and so unnecessary. And in fact, I haven't seen my sister's granddaughter since she was a little girl. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and the high prices and that. And I just think everything's gotten very complicated over the decades. Lawyers and I don't know if they have like entities and complications. Back when Scientology was like a bonfire across the planet, it was like a wildfire. It's simple. Bring people in, give them a little, don't coerce them to come into it. And destroying the franchise system was the death knell. But just have them come in, have them have a little win. Please come back when you feel like it. And people would just be flooding in and just do the lower levels. It just seems so logical and so sensible and so simple, but it's complicated and it's awful. And people then, when you see how people mistreat each other in the Scientology organization, imagine what it's like in the federal government. must just be awful. In fact, they used to say, if you want a friend in Washington, D.C., get a dog because it's so cutthroat.
Yeah. But, bringing up the disconnection, if you believe, to any staff member or someone under the radar or whatever, if you believe in Scientology technology, then you shouldn't have to believe in disconnection, because what you believe should handle so that you don't have to disconnect.
Right. That's right. Thank you, Sylvia, for being here. We've loved your stories and all, and I just want to thank our viewers for watching. I just need to mention that we're sponsored here by OUTBACK Natural. This is Janis's company, Complete Liquid Multivitamins. It's got all your vitamins in a liquid form. It's peach flavored. You just shake it up, take 2 tablespoons, or I like to use a little shot glass, and you put it in the refrigerator so it stays chilled. And you've taken all your vitamins for the day. And as Janis likes to say, ditch the pills and drink the power. Is that right, Janis?
That's correct, Mark.
Yep. And you can order it just right down below. You can go down below into our merchandise site that's in the video description. Click on that link and you can order this in the United States, and Janis will mail it out to you. And it's really great. You don't have to take handfuls of pills, and it tastes great. And I think you'll really enjoy it. You also can go to www.vites.com, and that's VITES.com, and you can order it online there too. Am I correct, Janis?
Yes, thank you, Mark. That was very good.
You're welcome. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our video or to our channel. Hit that like button, hit that notification button. That way you know whenever we have a new video that comes out. And also, if you have any questions or comments, please go down below and go down there and write your question, comment, and we will respond to them. And then finally, if you'd like to support our channel, you can buy us a coffee. There's a link in the video description. It's just a way to support the channel. Have Janis and Janis and Sylvia, have you guys got anything else you'd like to say?
I want to correct you, Mark. You don't hit the like button. You rock slam the like button.
Oh, rock slam it. Okay. I forgot. I'll go to cramming for that one. Okay.
Yeah, because you go ethics next time.
Joking and degrading. Shame on you.
All right. Until the next time, everybody. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Mark, thank you. You're a mensch.
Oh, you're welcome very much. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you.
Bye.